guys, it's Raven here. Welcome to Raven's Art. Today, we're going to be drawing this fireplace using charcoal pencils and a charcoal stick. I'll be using a 2B and a 4B charcoal pencil and this medium charcoal stick. So, to start it off, we're going to do the fireplace and the bookshelves and then the walls and everything because angles are not my kind of thing, but you know, because the fireplace is in a room, so like you have the end of the fireplace and you can see a little bit of the floor and the walls and the ceiling. So to start it off, I'm going to do a straight line for the bookshelves. We're just going to do, you barely want to press on the paper, you want a light line so it's easy to erase. Barely visible, but it's there. We'll come back and trace over it a little bit later. Now the fireplace is over it, just a little bit. So we're going to slide this ruler up just a tad bit. And actually, I'm going to flip this over. And it looks like the top of the fireplace would be about 4 inches. So we're going to take the 4 and the 7 and put it just about center to the paper. And then we're going to go from the 4 to the 7. That's a 4-inch line. And we're going to erase the underneath of that. I'm going to use a itsy bitsy little piece of Arkham eraser. And this is the messiest eraser, but you know, it works. My desk is already a mess. Just like that. Now, we're going to do a light line straight down. This is the sides of the fireplace. Once again, barely pressing on the paper. You want it to be easy to erase because the sides of the fireplace are not straight because they're stones, they're round. This just lets us know where our bookshelves need to be. All of this, I'm going to take a line here. And I'm going to leave a small little gap on either side. This is where the wall is going to be at. So we're going to do a straight line where the wall is. Once again, barely visible. And we're not going to go up the whole way. We're just going to do a little bit. Because the ceiling is visible in this picture. About right there. Oh, kind of messed up a little bit. That's fine. You can easily erase that. Get another small piece of art gum. That is coming apart. I will need some more art gum later on, because I'm getting a little bit low. So now that we have that, we're going to take the kneaded eraser because it'll be easier. Since my art gum's tearing apart, we're going to erase the line right here, because this is the wall. Now, angles for the floor, okay? For the wall and the floor, because the room, it's going to be at a slight angle. It's not going to be exactly straight because this is like the corner of the room. So the angle, we can use a ruler for this. It would come out just a little bit. It's not exactly, I'd say it's about like, I'm not exact, so don't quote me on this, but like, it's not a full 180 degrees, yeah. 175 maybe. Like that. Same thing on the other side. It's almost straight, but not quite. It at least tells you that that's the corner of a room, right? And we're going to come out just a little bit to about right here. This is where the floor is, right? And by looking at this picture, you should get the depth, okay? It should make you feel like you're standing inside of this room, looking into it, okay? I'll have to fix this little line right here. And there's little touch-up details that we're going to do later. And this is wooden floor. So it looks like we're going to have to do one more line right here. Like that. That works. I may want to make that a little more bold. A little more noticeable. There. Perfect. So now we're going to first focus on the bookshelves. So we're going to have 4 shelves, and we want to make them even, right? So I think the shelf only needs to be about this wide. Do about the same amount of spacing. We might want to make the spacing a little more wide on this. So I'm going to bring the line up a little bit more because our bookshelves are slightly taller than the one in the picture, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Make this picture your own, you know? Be unique. Like that. About the same amount of spacing. Go up some more. Perfect, that works. We may want to erase this line and redraw it slightly shorter. Right? And because that line is so thick, we can actually color this in. That is the top of the fireplace. And now we're going to do the same thing to this bookshelf with the lines, and we're going to line it up so that way the shelves are even, right? Perfect. And the ruler, you don't want it to be exactly on the line. You want to move it up a little bit depending on the angle of your pencil, because the line will come down a little bit farther than the ruler, right? And it won't exactly be even. That's almost exactly identical. Perfect. Right here. Perfect. Now we're going to darken up some lines and put our books on our bookshelf. So I'm going to take the 4B charcoal pencil and do shading on our bookshelves. There, now that we're done with that, we're going to draw our books. They're very simple, actually. If you look at the picture, if I can get this art gum off my paper, they're just little thick lines everywhere, right? To indicate books. Some of them are stacked up, some of them are leaning off to the side at an angle. And you can completely customize this. There. Now that we're done with our bookshelves, we're going to do the shading. So in these little gaps, we're going to take our charcoal pencils and just barely sweep across in this gap, right? Try to put some shading in there. Also checking my reference picture. Just like that. And we're also going to use some blenders, right? So I'm actually going to get a new one, and we just need a small one. We don't need a big one, right? We're going to kind of blend this in so it looks like a shadow. And you still see the lines of the shadow, but everything's blended in. Okay. You can also do this for the little cracks that are in between each book, right? And just light shadowing, nothing heavy. You can use the charcoal that's left on the tip of this, right? And use that to blend it out. There, now that we're done with this, as you can see, there's little prints of smudging from my hands. I have charcoal on my hands. So, to fix this, we're going to use a kneaded eraser. And you're just gonna barely tap the paper. You can even stamp it kinda, and it'll go away. This will pick up all the little smudges on your paper. You can even use the kneaded eraser to clean off the excess charcoal off your hand. See, came right off. It's all over the side of my arm. I don't know if there's any more on my hand. There we go. Because every time you charcoal and then you move over and you place your hand, it'll pick up the charcoal and it spreads it around the paper. So it's not the cleanest look. So now we're going to take the 4B charcoal pencil and we're going to make these lines a little bit more bold. Just a little bit. So now we're going to draw the little stones that are on the fireplace. Right? And it doesn't have to be exact. Kind of make it your own, you know? So... There, now that we're done with the fireplace, we're going to shade in this and we're going to put in a log. So I'm going to use the ruler and do a light little line right here, right? And then we're going to try to make a log. So now that we have that, we're going to take the big charcoal stick and we're going to fill this in. Now that that's done, just barely going to blend it in because we still want to keep the line features in it. This indicates that it's a shadow and it's not colored just solid black. You can see that we used some diagonal lines. Now that we're done with that, we're going to clean it up just a little bit by getting rid of little mess ups like this. Right? And now, I'm going to take this glove off. And we're going to take the 2B charcoal pencil and fill in the little gaps between the stones. Just lightly. There. Now we're going to do the detail in the walls, and then we'll do this back wall and the ceiling. So the top of the walls go out at an angle like this. And then this is where the ceiling is. So in this picture, it looks like they're in a log cabin, right? So the walls are made of logs, so they're all rounded off. This is why I wanted to do the side of the wall such a light line, because you can easily shade over that with the charcoal. For this, we're going to use the 4B. And I'm going to put the glove on and start with this side so I don't mess up anything. And like I mentioned before, by putting the glove on, it'll keep me from smudging around the paper and having to clean up the edges like I did last time. The glove, the charcoal won't stick to it and then be re-stamped on a clean part of the paper. So I'm going to take the ruler and we're going to make some little lines. Just some light lines where the logs will be at. They can be all different sizes, but nothing too major, you know, as that's a log. So we're going to take the 4B pencil and we're going to do like a little arch like that, right? And we're going to do this all the way along the bookshelf. This indicates that the wall is made of logs and it's not just a flat corner. Once you've done this for both sides, we're going to leave little lines indicating that these are logs, right? So they're not just little bumps, right? So we're going to take the 2B charcoal pencil. And just put kind of like small little lines on each log, right? And they can all be different. They don't have to be the same. Some can have one line, some can have 3. But don't leave a log without any lines, because then it just looks weird, right? And you can't really tell that they're logs. There. Now we're going to lighten up the little lines because they're a bit too bold. They don't look quite right. So I'm going to take off a big piece of kneaded eraser. And we're going to lightly tap them. And you see the kneaded eraser will pick up the excess charcoal. Make them lighter and more natural. Because by making them more bold, it looks like they're closer to you than they actually are. Remember, this is the corner of the room and it's farther away from you. So they should be as light as possible, but still noticeable. Now that we're done with that, all we have left is this back wall. Because the ceiling, of course, is blank. So we're going to do 2 windows. And in the picture, they're on top of the bookshelf on both sides. So we're going to take the 2B charcoal pencil and outline where the windows are going to be. Once again, making this line as straight as possible. Once you've made the outline for the windows, we're going to do a much smaller square on the inside so we can color around the edges and give the window depth, right? Once we've done that, we're going to shade the inside of the window. And once again, we're going to take a piece of kneaded eraser, clean it up, and then dab a little bit of the excess off. Last but not least, we're going to add some final little touches. So on the top, it looks like in the picture on the top, there's a little vase right here, and then there's a plate right here. So we're going to draw the little vase. And because it's so far in the distance, it's very lightly drawn. Now that we're done with that, we're going to take the 2B pencil, not the 4B, and we're going to shade up on the wall right here. There, and now our picture is finished.